Hey guys, this is your inspirational nurse underscore RN Tierra comes to live with another great video. Hey, all my YouTube family, I'm back with another video, and today's topic is the dark side of travel nursing. So I know people have been pulling me to talk about it. Of course, we all talk about the good things of being a travel nurse, and I've been a travel nurse for over 5 years now. I've been doing it ever since I had a license. My very first job was a travel job. So stay tuned if you are interested in this channel and this topic. And for all my new subscribers, thank you for supporting me. I'm definitely going to spill the juice, the tea, because I feel like I like to talk about things that people normally won't tell you and things that I wish I knew as a travel nurse. So let's stay tuned. So let's talk about travel nursing. As you know, travel nursing is a thing right now. It's like the new pair of hot shoes that just came out, new pair of Jordans. It's like the new bag that just came out, new Gucci bag, new car. Travel nursing is very, very popular. Back then, it was still popular, but not as a popular trend. As a traveler, it's so important to stay in tune with the trends of nursing and the trends of travel nursing. The reason why I say that is because you will know what is going on in real time. You don't just want to just trust your value, your nursing license, and put it in an agency that maybe don't even care about you. So there is so many dark things about travel nursing that I hate that is happening. And to all my fellow travel nurses out there, I salute you because I know the work. So one main thing, dark side of travel nursing, is that some agencies, and as you know, the hospital organizations take advantage of travelers. They make tons of money off of you every time you clock into a facility and you complete that contract on assignments. I even have travel agencies till today that I was working with that doesn't even want to work with PRN travel nurses or see it as a priority. All they want is contracts. So contracts, as you know, usually is a 13 weeks long agreement written down on paper, and it's guaranteed hours and it's guaranteed pay. But there's so many dark sides to it. So that's why it's important to know how to negotiate, know what to put in your contract to protect yourself. So let's talk about it. So being a travel nurse, coming into an organization, whether you worked there before, or some people go to the job that they worked for before in the past, or they just travel to different assignments, you either going to be a local traveler or a travel traveler, meaning a local traveler rates are just different. It's hourly rates. And then you have your travelers that travel outside of the county, outside of the state, outside of the U.S., and they get a stipend and they get an hourly rate as well. So usually travel nursing money is usually higher, and also the only benefit too is you don't get taxed as much as you do on a regular job. You get taxed very low because of the type of work it is. The dark side of travel nursing is you're going to be coming into a situation where you really don't know the patients. So you really cannot come into travel nursing I would never suggest a brand new nurse coming in and just jumping in unless you're in a situation where you have no choice but to do this type of work. I will always suggest having training and a foundation under your belt, because another dark side of travel nursing is, guess what? You do not even, some places I've been recently don't even give you an orientation. I mean, you usually get a 1 day to 2 days. My last travel contract, my very first day was my training day, and they try to take that away from me and give me 2-3 patients. It was like, oh, you good, you are RN, you've done this type of work before. Yes, I have, but I have never worked in this facility before. And I always advocate for myself, because if you don't say that and you're like, well, I'm making this money and let me just do what they say, and something happens to your patient, first of all, anything that happens on shift, usually you get blamed for it. Whether you was there or not, they will blame the traveler. 9 times out of the 10, I can tell you hands down, it's usually the full-time staff that makes the mistakes and that's messing up. They always just use the traveler as an excuse or a cop out when something does go wrong on the unit. So that's why I tell you it's so important to, as when you're starting out, to join local travel companies or Facebook. There's so many Facebook groups that you can add yourself, and they'll add you onto a private group, and you can talk about the things that's happening. You can talk about assignments and contracts you're not sure about, if you're getting the best bang for your buck. You can put all the juice in these Facebook group chats, and you will be talking to so many other travelers, because travelers need to stick together. It's kind of like working on a unit and you guys are like feeling like, you guys can relate because you're both the only travelers on the unit. I worked in buildings where 99% of their employees were travelers, and we all try to look out for each other because we know the dark side of travel nursing. Another dark side of travel nursing is some organizations may try to find a loophole out of your contract. You have to make sure that your contract that you set up, it is sealed tight to the point where you list everything on your contract, including if they call you off. Because in your contract, it might state that the facility can call you off 3 times during the whole 13 weeks. And what they do is they'll call you off, and then they'll call you in even when I had a job call me in even when I was on vacation, and it's on my contract. I'm like, it's on my contract, I'm on vacation, whether I'm home or not. It's my vacation time and I'm not working. And another thing about the dark side of travel nursing is your safety is usually at risk sometimes. Sometimes what happens is you usually as a travel nurse is very skilled and well equipped to do the job, because this travel nurse been traveling throughout all different types of units, working with different types of patient populations. And when you come onto a unit, these nurses see you as a threat, because they're like, well, how you know how to do all these things, and you just so independent. You don't need the manager for everything, the charge nurse for everything. You just know how to get into shift, adapt, get your stuff done, and clock out. And these nurses are maybe not on that level yet, and so they feel very threatened. I even had a situation where I was working as an LPN at the time, as a traveler, and I had all the most vent patients. Not only did I have the most vent patients, I also had the most patients that was on MRSA contact. Like, all my rooms were mostly MRSA contact. This is when I was starting out. I just moved to Virginia. I just had my son. I needed some money. I was working. I was traveling to a hospital, and I was literally, being nice to the team and whatever. And they did not care. They hated me. I even came onto shift and they told me, "You're not getting a CNA tonight. You're just gonna have to do everything by yourself." I nipped it in the butt. See, when you start to have experience, that's why it's good to have experience in everything that you do. I was like, well, according to my travel agent, I don't work for you. So if you do not comply to getting me a CNA, I'm going to leave. And as soon as I said I was going to leave and she knew it, she freaked out and was like, oh my God, but we're going to be short. Then what we're going to do then? What we're going to do then, Miss Fleming? I don't care what you're going to do, but you're going to give me a CNA. And in 2.5 seconds, I had a CNA. I had a point where, like, I had the most contact MRSA patients. So I'm gowning up, gowning down. I'm running around. Mind you, I was breastfeeding my son at the time, and they told me I had to go and pump in the bathroom. They didn't even want me to pump in a private place or like in the office or somewhere. And so guess what I did? I went right in the break room, me and my Modella pump, and they busted in, Miss Fleming, you better find me a place to pump now. And ever since then, all the managers let me in their office and pump, and I was able to save my milk because I was leaking. I wasn't even taking breaks. I'm running around, and I'm noticing the full-time staff is sitting at the nursing station watching me, literally running my head off. Because if you have a lot of vent patients, I had a lot of vents and trach patients, that means you're suctioning, oral care, trach care, and they had G-tube, PEG tubes, every tube, because it's an LTAC unit. So I'm working my butt off, and I'm sweaty because I'm now gowning up, gowning out, gowning up, gowning out. All my rooms were contact. The assignment was not fair. And they even to the point hid the trachs sets and cleaning kits and everything from me. So when I needed it for a patient, I'm running around, tearing stuff up, looking through the supply room, not finding it. And I'm like, wait a minute, it has to be on a unit somewhere. They just laughed. No one told me where the trach stuff was at. This is all part of the dark side of travel nursing. If you can have thick skin and survive working 2 times harder and these different challenges, and have thick skin when they try to tell you different things that is not true, you'll be perfect for the job. Some people crack underneath the pressure because they can't handle that type of stress. So it took one nurse, and I would never forget, it was a male nurse. Also, I was stuck charting 2 hours later from shift because they were still paper charting. They wasn't even on Epic yet. So now I'm paper charting, eyes and no sheets, all the stuff. All my nurses back in the day that know about my paper charting hit me down below. Y'all remember that? It was a headache. And then he showed me everything, how to quickly do my charting, how to find the trach stuff. They hid it from me, and I'm like, yo, y'all think y'all hurting me? Y'all hurting y'all patients. Y'all not even hurting me. Y'all hurting the patients. So that was an incident. I had nurses tell me that people wanted to fight them and scratch their car up. I had a travel nurse that I helped get an assignment, and he travels throughout the whole world now. He's been all over the place. Internationally, he travels. And his first week, somebody scratched his car. And these are some of the things that happens. So when you are a travel nurse, the best way to blend in is to not be so flashy. You make some money, but don't let your ego, which I never let my ego, I just like taking care of patients. That's me. But don't let your ego and the money that you're making change your attitude or the way you carrying yourself, or you become very flashy. Now you bring your Gucci bag to work, and you driving in your Tesla, your Mercedes, or whatever, and you know, because they can sense a travel nurse. My best advice is, when you're new to the game, if you're a good actor, you blend in. Everywhere I work, people now, they be like, I thought you was part of the team full time. Because you know what? I take my time and I learn the policies for the hospital, where things are at, exercise, everything. I participate in all the unit managers' activities. If they're having potluck or whatever, they're having a meeting, I participate. And I'm showing in my support to the team versus me just coming in, clocking out, not talking to nobody, just making this money. Now everybody is different on how they work as a travel nurse. My best advice is just blend in. If you blend in and people think you full-time staff, they won't really mess with you as much. And again, don't ever, 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 as a travel nurse, talk about your salary or your income to anybody. People will ask you, and I always say, I don't talk about that at work. I don't share that information. As soon as you share something like that, you think the person like, yeah, I just want to know for myself. They're going to take that and they're going to tell everybody on the unit. I had a nurse practitioner step to me and was being very in my face, because I had, I'm playing around. I'm a very playful person. I was like, hey, let me get $1 for some M&Ms. And she was like, $1? You make all this money? And da-da-da. She went off. You know how much I make? I make 90-something thousand a year. And I'm like, okay, so what that got to do with me? Okay, then the Brooklyn comes out. Then what that got to do with me? You could be a travel and nurse practitioner. Can you do that? Well, my child's disabled. I said, well, I don't got nothing to do with that. Next. And not only that, also, again, I've been traveling for a long time, so I have skills in a lot of areas. We had a patient that all of a sudden had chest pain, or felt like she was having chest pain. I was taking care of the patient. I assessed the patient. I told the nurse practitioner. She was like, oh my God. Because the lady was like, oh, I said, just describe the pain for me. Because I know my cardiac patients, and I know my respiratory patients, and I know when it's not cardiac. And when she told me, I said, this is not cardiac. So when I told the nurse practitioner, I said, look, she's having chest pain, but it's not cardiac. Oh, we got to do cardiac workup. I think it's cardiac. I think she did it. I said, I'm telling you now, it's not that. It's not that. She did not want to listen to me. The other doctor came in. They checking on her. The lady's holding her chest. And she was, scared. And 2 days later, they was like, well, Miss Fleming, what do you think it is? I said, she's just having muscle spasms. You guys probably took off her medication, and the adverse effects of just taking people off their medications and working in a facility that don't know what they're doing is that this is what happens when you take people off their meds. Oh my God, muscle spasms. She's a paraplegic. Put two together. It's not chest pain. As soon as they resume her medications, the patient instantly, no pain. Everything went away. It was muscle spasms. So ever since then, everybody, I guess, felt some type of way because I knew the answer. I don't know everything, but I've been doing this job for a long time. I'm used to working different units and adapting and cardiac drips. And even when I worked at doing all the specialized med surg units, I did surgical, orthopedic, oncology. I mean, I wanted to put my hands on everything and be well-rounded. The only problem with that is like almost even when it's for a good thing, this was a good outcome. I told them what it was. They still want to do workup and waste all this time. And all it took was a simple answer. So a lot of times these places you're traveling to, the patients, as you know, is not the priority. It sucks. Right, guys? I know as a nurse, you always want to put your patient first. And unfortunately, the field that we're in, the healthcare field that we have now, is disgusting. I don't even know how to describe it. It's like a nightmare. If I knew that God was waiting to this moment to put me as a nurse, I probably would panic, because the way the field is going, it does not care about the patients no more. It's always business first, never the patients. Even when you have a positive outcome, it's always something negative behind it. People look at you like, how you know? My team don't know. How you know? I had managers press me when I was working, just a full-time employee, just working, going different floors and minding my business. Why do patients want you and don't want my team? What you got that they don't have? I said, patience, communication. I have mental health experience, and my hospital had no mental health floor, no mental health doctors, nothing. But we was taking in these mental health patients. Like, we're just setting them up for failure. I don't like the system that we're in, and I know that there's so many other nurses out there that feels the same way as me, or people getting into this field that don't know. It is crazy out here. You work your butt off just to not be appreciated, not be valued, not even by your own peers, not even about your managers and your charge nurses and stuff. The only way people survive in this field is that I learned, somebody told me, is that they fake it till they make it. I'm not faking it till I make it. The next thing you know, I want to shoot up the whole place. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to do that. I can't work fake, if that makes sense. Everybody can't do that. Now, some people can fake it till they make it and then retire in 20, 30 years, but they still unsatisfied. When I wake up in the morning, I want to feel satisfied that I made a change. So that's why I started my own business, and God gave me this big plan, and I said, you know what, God, I thank you, because now they can get good care. Good care is so hard to find. Finding a good trust and care that cares about the patient, that's like finding gold to patients right now. And families and patients know the difference. That's why they stay away from the hospitals now. They're staying away from getting care, because they know the care that they're going to get. Unfortunately, the quality has changed. So as a nurse, either you're going to fake it till you make it, or you're going to speak up, or what kind of personality are you? Are you going to listen to what God tells you to do, or what? You have choices. Again, as a travel nurse, you have resources. Go and join your groups that travel internationally, your private your travel nurses that travel locally. When you are local travelers, sometimes these organizations, they don't tell you, but they put restrictions on the miles away you have to live from that hospital, so that way the local travelers cannot come there, which is sad, because you want a nurse that lives 5 to 10, 15 minutes rather than a nurse that comes 5 hours away. So they put 75 miles restrictions on some of these travel assignments, make you travel all these hours just to get to your job, which is unsafe, because now you're pulling all these hours as a travel nurse, and then you work extra hard as a travel nurse. So I will also say, know what you're getting into before you get into it. Ask a lot of questions. Say, hey, if I take on this contract and I start working but something doesn't work out, how is this going to affect me? You have to talk about things like that with your recruiter. They were not going to gauge you to talk about it. They're only going to gauge you to say, hey, just get this contract. Come on, let's just get it. No, I don't put my name on nothing. And that's why, as a travel nurse, you need to save your money. Again, save your money. Don't spend it all on traveling around the world and buying fancy clothes and all that. Save your money, because there's times when travel nursing dries up. That's another dark side of travel nursing. It's like different seasons. There's seasons where travelers are very hot, meaning like a summer, winter, when people don't want to go to work, and these hospitals need workers because they cannot conduct business without nurses, right? So travel nursing is like seasonal. It's times when it's really, really hot and there's so many contracts out. There's so many opportunities out. And there's times when it's very dry and you're just sitting home like, oh my God, am I going to get another contract? Am I going to get another contract? You will if you're patient and you have money saved. Or if you live with somebody, or you have a spouse that work and he makes money, then that's a good plan. But if I will always suggest to save, because all the money you get, sometimes the organizations wiggle their way out of those contracts, or will say, hey, she didn't chart, and then you can't get in the charting system. That's another dark side. Is sometimes, a lot of times, you work somewhere, you can't even get in the charting system to chart on your patients. And then the facility like, oh, she's not charting, she's not doing her job. But it's them, their system. They didn't even put you in as a full-time employee. They put you in as like having partial parts of the system, and then it doesn't work right, and then you call IT every day, and then you got to change your username, password every day. I had to work that way. There's times when they restrict you pulling certain narcs because they think travel nurses still, when the people that work for that place steals the narcotics, not the travel nurses. It's the people that work for the place. The people, the inside, it's an inside job. But everything gets blame on you. So if you can handle being the blame, just stay quiet, do your thing, always do your best work, because patients will notice the difference. And just know that when you do right by people, God will bless you with so many other travel opportunities that's going to come up. So I will also do a next video on my highest paying contract. I will spill the tea on how much I was making hourly, how much I was making overtime. I'm getting ready to do one more travel assignment while I'm launching this business. I'm going to do one more, and I'm going to spill the tea on that as well. And my other advice is, when you're as a travel nurse, and even if you have experience doing this, I, for myself, only go for jobs that are not so like ICU and ER and stuff like that. I stick to things like med-surg, long-term care, LTAC units, things like that. That's long-term because it's the same patients. So you get to learn your patients a little bit better than to work in an acute environment. But again, that's me, because I don't want the stress of one day of training and then I'm working with ICU patients, and now they titrate their drips different here, or they do things different on this unit. They're not going to tell you all the tricks to the trade on how to get the machines to stop beeping and all this extra stuff. You just have to, as a travel nurse, you have to figure it out. You have to be proactive, and you have to just go in positive and just say, hey, if anytime your license is at risk, you step out, you get out of there. Don't continue trying to make that money, because it's not always about the money. Your license being protected comes first, because that's your $1 million paper. Your $1 billion paper is your license staying active, and nothing on your license. You don't want your license to be flagged for anything or anything. And these people that you're traveling to, just know it's usually in the place that has no resources, usually in a place that's unorganized, no staff. So just know you're going to work 2 times harder. You're going to be playing, maybe you're going to be the CNA and the nurse. Just know that. And if you're okay with that, then you take on that role. If you're not okay with something, do not go into it thinking it's going to change, because you're just this awesome nurse. They do not care about awesome nurses, unfortunately, but God cares. That's who cares about being an awesome nurse, is God. He sees everything that you do, how you care for these people. When he see you good work, he will always keep your bills paid and things. So you don't have to worry about it, because God said in his word that he knows all our needs. So we don't even have to ask or beg or anything. He already knows what we need, and he already knows our heart desires. So don't always get consumed with money, because as soon as money comes in your hands, it goes. All this money you make as a travel nurse, most of the time these travel nurses, they spin it up, buying all these big items. Invest in yourself. Take that money and invest. Open up an IRA account. Put money in some stock. Do something where it's going to invest and come back to you and triple your money. So you have to think on a bigger spectrum, rather than, okay, let me just pay these bills and maybe I'll buy myself something nice at the end. You want to take it and have a bigger plan. Take this income, because you're only getting it for a short while. 13 weeks is not a long week. And then also on your contract, you want to have bonuses when you get extended or when your contract ends. Now, usually some travel agencies won't even talk to you about all that, but I'm going to tell you. Make sure you put that in there. So when the company like, hey, I want her to work one more contract with us, you'll get a bonus, a couple of thousands when it extends or when you complete it. Because then that money that you get from those bonuses, you can also save until your next travel assignment comes up. Sometimes you have to wait, and that's another part of the dark side of travel nursing. Sometimes you have to wait a couple of months before you get another good contract. Now, some travel nurses just take anything and then they just go for it. Me, I have 3 kids, husband, and so I'm very particular. And since I have a lot of experience in doing this, I'm very particular in what I take. So sometimes for me, it takes a couple of months, but when I do find something, like I found a good one that I'm getting ready to take, once I take it and it's a good one, and I have a good recruiter, and it has value in that contract, then I'll take it. And that's because I'm an experienced RN now that know better. So you never want to just put your name out there. You never just want to play with people's lives and just like, oh, I'm just passing a couple of pills doing some wound care. No, you're taking care of patients. They're a priority. Excuse me, y'all. I see a fly. I'm like, they're a priority. So you want to take care of them like if they're your family, not like if, okay, dollar signs, dollar signs, dollar signs. So always take care of these people. You was trained to do a job, do it. Do it. And as a travel nurse, you have to be bold, strong personality. You have to speak up and advocate, and you have to be very independent. Now, if you're that type of nurse that need a charge nurse and a manager, and you know your type of person, then get the full-time job and then maybe do some PRN on the side. You don't have to do travel nursing, because travel nursing is not for everybody. There's times when you could like get kicked off an assignment. They can blame you for something, like, oh, she didn't do this when the patient came in, or she didn't finish her mission. Meanwhile, you couldn't get in the system to finish nothing. And you told your recruiter. That's why I say your recruiters are number one priority when you become a travel nurse. If you find a good recruiter that believes in you, I recently found one that we talk all the time, lots of things in common. We both military spouses. We've been talking. She's been looking for me the best work possible, close to home, because she know I have kids. She cares. Rather than any type of recruiter like, hey, when can you start? Okay, I'm sending you paperwork. Get it done. They don't care. You don't want nobody who don't care about you, because stuff does go down. It does. I had a manager on one travel assignment. He actually put his hands on me and grabbed my arm because he wanted me to go see about a patient when there was somebody already in there with the patient. And one of the staff members was like, why are you touching on her like that? Why you grabbed her like that? Because he was just so mad of the amount of money he was paying me. I mean, the organization had to pay me. And it was just something, he was trying to put me down on days I told him I couldn't work, and that was in my contract. I mean, this man was trying everything. And so what I do too is I have a recording app on my phone, and I record certain things now, conversations and agreements, and that way, when they want to say and be slick and be like, no, I told her she had to work this day, because they try to play me and put me down on a day. And when I came up, I didn't have no assignment for that day. I wasn't even on the board. He's talking about, oh, I talked to your travel company, and my travel company never reached out. I don't like travel companies that don't reach out, and I like travel companies that got a third party when there's something going wrong on the weekend, that you got to call the person, wait till Monday, because by Monday something could have went down. You could have got hurt, or somebody could have got hurt. So that's how you find things that you don't like about a company. It's by experience. You experience certain things, you're like, I'm never going to do that again. I'll put myself in those situations. And that's all I can say. That's some of the dark sides of travel nursing. People make racial comments at you. People bully. There's lots of bullying in nursing and travel nursing, because they want to intimidate you so you can feel uncomfortable and leave. You'll have people that beg you to hook them up and want to know your business. Don't trust them. They're not. When you go work on a travel assignment, they are not your friends. And yes, you're going to have some really nice nurses. I ran into a lot of nice nurses on some travel assignments where they took, like my last travel assignment, some people took some of my patients because they knew I had the most patients. And they're like, why she got the most patients? Just give me one. And each nurse took an extra patient from me, so I wouldn't have all these patients. And so I thought that was pretty neat, because these patients are on event, and these nurses know that they need quality care. So they were like questioning everything, like, why y'all treating her like that? And some nurses would speak up. So when they do, just know God always sends angels, and God is always watching. So you're always protected. So sometimes God will send you in different places to work with different people, because he wants you to minister to them, talk to them, or something you're getting out of that experience. So don't think every bad experience, it doesn't count. It actually helped you to be a better nurse and better decision making, and just a better travel nurse in general. So just make sure that you do your research on these companies. Like I said, there's so many Facebook groups about travelers, and you will have a good time, because they will put contract information up there. They'll put information up there about insurance, healthcare insurance for travel nurses. They'll put stuff up there about what's going on in a certain organization, and they'll put their contract information up there and say, look, they cheating me. They only charging me, they only paying me this, but this is what they're making as a facility. And so you'll get all the tea from there. So that is my best advice. I know everybody wants to be in the travel game. Everybody can't do it. It's not for everybody. There's other ways to make money in this nursing field. You can work from home. You can do tele from home. You could do COVID vaccines and extra ways to make extra funds. But sometimes doing it this way, it can lead to danger, you know, to a point where people threatening you because maybe you did something right and they didn't, and then you told, and then now the whole unit is mad at you, and now they giving you the worst assignments. You don't even know these patients. Just know, as a travel nurse, that's a dark side. You don't know these patients like that. Your very first day, you should be finding out where stuff is at, your patients, and that's easy. When you learn how to assess really quickly, you just know what to look for. You always want to look for your wounds. Anytime you're working as a travel nurse, you want to look at the skin. You don't want to be a lazy travel nurse and not check your patient's skin, because they'll blame that wound on you. And you just got started. They'll be like, oh no, you did it. You saw the wound, you're accountable for it. No, I'm not. So when I'm traveling somewhere, I had a nurse tell me, and she didn't know I was an ADO when I managed a nursing home. She was like, yeah, the wound nurse is going to come every day, night nurse. And I'm like, go. And I told this guy, he was like LP, and I said, I want you to go in there. I want you to make sure that wound care is done, because I saw that patient's wound, and I want you to label it with today's date and put your name on it now. And he was like, yes, ma'am, yes, ma'am. But because wounds are extremely important when you're traveling around and you don't know these patients' skin, look at their skin. It doesn't take that long. You want to make sure if they have a stage 2, stage 3, if it's unstageable, you want to make sure that you are treating it properly. So now what I do, I don't worry about my pills. Now, when I was a new nurse, I want to just get the pills done. Get the pills. That's when you're a new nurse. You just care about the medicine. As you become more experienced, you start getting all your tube feeding done first. You start getting all your wound care done, your trach care, whatever you got to do. And then you work on your medications, because then all the big stuff is done. Then you can leave on time. As a new nurse, I never got out and work on time because I was still behind no matter what I was doing. And as I started learning time management and how to just do care faster, and you start learning how to do that just by challenging yourself. You're not going to learn by just being scared to challenge yourself. You know what I mean? Challenge yourself as a nurse and change up your routines to see if you can do stuff faster and effective. Now I just check with my wounds. I say, pull it down. I want to see it. Okay, so what has she got? When the last time it was treated? And then I hold the facility accountable. I told the DON that wound has not been treated. I did it today, but you need to be on top of that, basically. And she was like, no, I understand. We did have a wound care nurse, but no one, as I can tell, no one has been in there for months. It was so much stuff in this lady's womb, it looked like poop that came out of her womb. And she was like, what is that, poop? It was just all that gump just was in there for months and months and months. And no one touched her. And I hate to see a patient get neglected. So you know me, I had to have a conversation with somebody. And I let her know, what is the responsibility on night shift? This is unacceptable. Like, you know, and there's nothing wrong with, again, if there's a place where they appreciate nursing, then there's a win-win situation as a travel nurse. But then just be mindful that they may not want you back there because you know too much. You know, you're not a nurse that don't know nothing. You're a nurse that know better. So they don't want to be held accountable, so they may not want you back, or they may not extend your contract. Just know that's okay. You know how many jobs is out there? If you go on Indeed, find out how many jobs is out there for nurses. It's thousands and thousands of jobs. Everywhere you go, there's jobs. New jobs are populated. So it's okay not to get extended or complete that contract because something safety-wise came up. I told y'all my last contract, my contract ended early because, first of all, we had no code team. We were the code team. Nurses was doing the code, figuring out how much epi to give and how much all the stuff to give during the code. We're doing all the coding ourselves. There was nobody to draw labs. We had to do all that. We had no transportation. We had to transport our patients to surgery, pick them up from surgery, take them down to CAT scan, bring them back up. They had no resources on this unit. I see why they had no staff. And so as a travel nurse, I had to learn how to get around the facility, how to go through back elevators to get my patient. Oh my God. But you learn quickly when you're a travel nurse. You learn how to adapt. You learn, you ask questions, and you observe. You always observe things. And then, you know, like I said, if the contract doesn't, if you're not there a full 13 weeks because of something safety, that's okay. The place I was at, I got the cold carts changed, and I had a place, they finally put up something to waste the narcs. I was wasting narcs with a charge nurse. She told me just put it in the sink and walked away. They wasn't even watching me waste it. I said, you best to come back over here, and we're not putting chemicals down the sink, and best to get another bin or something to waste this medication properly, because that's the standard. And she looked at me like, But the next day, guess what's there? Not only did they have to clean all the crash carts out, but they had a bin for you to waste your narcs. Because the first thing they would have said is that travel nurse stole something amount of Dilaudid. I'm walking around with a big needle because it's L-Tax, so you give a lot of pain medication. And I'm running around all this Dilaudid and trying to waste it with the charge nurse. I said, that is not the standard. And she looked at me like if looks can kill, she wanted to kill me or something. And then so they had to change that. And then I had a patient bleed out because she had her wound extubated and cleaned out. And when I walked in the room, blood was everywhere, soaked through the mattress, all over the floor. It was like a horror movie. I called the doctor. The nurse came. Somebody came and said, doctor said he ain't coming right now. That's the first time I cursed the doctor. I said, you best to get your, excuse me, but I had to go there. Get down here and look at this patient now. And he came, I'm coming. Really? So there's so many dark sides to this game, y'all. So many. And so when I was leaving, they said they took me off of there early, made an excuse up that it was something that I did. I did not care at that point because it was very unsafe there. And they wanted to know more. Like the managers was like, okay, how can you help us? We got so many things that the nurses are doing wrong, and we're trying to train them, and we don't know what what to tell them about. And I told them about heparin. I said, you need to train these nurses on heparin and things like that. These patients in here bleeding out and they're not given the right dose. So they was trying to get an idea from me of how they can manage that better. And I'm trying to help them. And I come back a couple of weeks later to find out that a patient basically almost expired because the heparin was given wrong or something happened with heparin. When I heard that, it made me feel relieved that I was not involved, that wasn't there. Can you imagine me being there? Even if I didn't do it wrong, they would have still blamed the traveler. So I was grateful. So when God tells you to get out of somewhere or something's not working out, don't fight it. Travel nurses make good money where you can save your money, wait a few weeks to get another job. But do not sit there knowing that you're putting somebody's life at risk or yourself, your own license. Those are your priorities. Your patients first, your license. Those two big priorities. So I hope this was telling you all the tea. I'm sure there's so many other horror stories, and y'all could comment y'all horror stories below. I want to hear it, y'all. I want y'all to tell me what y'all experience and what these people out here doing, because I experienced so much. And the only reason why I had to be a travel nurse, y'all, was because I was a military spouse. My husband was deploying back to back to back. It was part of a unit where they deployed every time they came home. And I was alone with my kids, and I needed to work. I had a new license, and I wanted to use it, and that was the only way that I can work and pick my own schedule. So that's the only reason why I got into travel nurse. Why y'all got into it? I would love to hear what inspired you guys to be a traveler. And I know it's probably this messed up healthcare system. I know that's part of it, but I want to hear it. I want stability in these comments, y'all. And share this video, like, subscribe, share the love, because this is something people are not going to tell you. Now, if you can handle everything I said, good luck out there and keep traveling safely. And I'll talk to you all on the next one.